The Philadelphia Eagles are continuing to surprise everybody at training camp as they just pulled off highway robbery in a trade that might have landed them a new contender to start at cornerback. Plus, it also opened the door for one of the Eagles' most exciting rookies to make a big impact this season. Meanwhile, Jalen Hurts just lit it up during training camp practice, and his connection with wide receiver Jahan Dotson in particular is looking stronger than ever. Plus, both Moro Ojomo and Quinyon Mitchell have been putting the NFL on notice at camp. So I'm going to talk about all that and more news starting right now. Alright, so it's no secret that the Philadelphia Eagles love to make moves extremely late into the offseason. I mean, if you just go back and look at these past several years, every single year, Howie Roseman and the Birds have made a late offseason move, whether it was trading for their now wide receiver 3, Jahan Dotson, late last year right before their final preseason game, or the year before when they signed eventual starting linebacker Zach Cunningham in the middle of training camp, and then take it back a year further to when they traded for starting safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson right as training camp had come to an end. And even the year prior, they had made the important move to trade for backup quarterback Gardner Minshew during camp. So again, the Birds are no stranger to making moves extremely late into the offseason and in training camp, so it's no surprise that they just went out and made another one. As late on Monday, Howie Roseman pulled the trigger on a trade to send defensive tackle Thomas Booker IV to the Raiders in exchange for cornerback Jakorian Bennett. And as I hinted at earlier, I think this move is extremely underrated. I mean, sure, Bennett has never been a guy that has been a full-time starter before, but he does have starting experience, as after being drafted in the 4th round in 2023, he's played in 24 games over his first 2 seasons with the Raiders, starting 11 of them, and specifically, he played 360 defensive snaps as a rookie in 2023, and 461 defensive snaps last year, so he does have quite a bit of experience. And in that limited playing time, Bennett flashed a lot of ability, as last year, among cornerbacks that played over 450 snaps, Bennett allowed 0 touchdowns, which ranked first. He also allowed just 176 yards, which was second. He allowed just 18 catches, which ranked third on 37 targets, which ranked 10th. And he had 8 pass breakups, while also only allowing a QBR of 62.4 when targeted, which ranked 5th. So, as you can see, Bennett was rather impressive in a very limited sample size, especially in coverage. And even if you just look at some of the matchups that he had to deal with last year, he held his own against some of the NFL's best, including Jamar Chase, Courtland Sutton, and Ladd McConkey. And on top of that, Bennett is also an extremely athletic player with high potential, as ahead of being drafted in 2023, he posted a relative athletic score of 9.59 out of 10, which ranked 92nd out of 2,222 cornerback prospects since 1987. So it's no surprise that the Eagles like him, and they're taking a chance on him here with this trade. Now, that said, there are some drawbacks with Bennett as well, as his PFF grade of just 58.6 ranked 82nd out of 105 eligible cornerbacks last year, and he's been, all things considered, a pretty poor tackler during his career so far, and obviously there's a reason that the Raiders decided to move on from him at just 24 years old, as one, they needed defensive tackle depth, so this trade to get Booker makes some sense for them, but also, Bennett had suffered a season-ending injury last year, specifically a torn labrum, which he had to get surgery on, and also, he didn't exactly fit the typical mold of what Pete Carroll likes from his cornerbacks, that being a bigger, more lengthy body type, as opposed to Bennett's smaller frame at just 5'10", 195 pounds. That said though, even with all the negatives, I think this trade is just an absolute steal for the Birds, as they're getting a guy that has shown flashes of being a good player. He's still young at just 24 years old. They also gave up just their 5th string defensive tackle to get him, and he can likely come in here right away and compete for the starting cornerback job with Kelee Ringo and Adoree Jackson.
I think Howie does such a good job of continually trying to improve our football team. No one does it better than he does, and we thought that was an opportunity to add some depth at corner.
What's the plan to onboard him, and we'll have a chance to compete for a starting job?
Yeah, we'll get him going. And we'll see how that goes. Obviously, there's a lot of meeting times that we have to make up. We're getting him early in camp, though, and so we'll catch him up in some off time, catch him up during the meetings, and have some other things to get him ready to go. He's got speed, coverage ability, special teams value, so we're excited to have him.
Now, I would say the one concerning part about this trade is that it could mean that the Eagles maybe aren't very happy or comfortable with what they've seen from Kelee Ringo and Adoree Jackson up to this point in camp, so they felt they needed to add somebody, which personally, even with Bennett now being here, I still do have high hopes for Kelee Ringo and want him to be the guy to win the starting job and develop into a good player in that role. So if this trade truly is just because they don't know if Ringo's good enough to be the starter, that does concern me a little bit. However, on the other hand, I do think Bennett has the potential to be the starter and to be a very good player. So again, the fact that they got him and they got him for such good value, I think is a really underrated move by Howie Roseman. Now, I do want to say thank you to Thomas Booker for his services and for being a part of that Super Bowl winning team last year. He obviously didn't play much, but when he did get in there, I did think he was a solid rotational depth piece at defensive tackle, and he made some plays earlier in the season. And I also do think he had the potential to get even better. So I would say to him, good luck in Las Vegas. But now for the Birds, Booker's departure just creates an even bigger opportunity for a guy like rookie Ty Robinson, as he's now the clear-cut number 4 defensive tackle on the roster behind Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, and Moro Ojomo. So even if it's not a ton of snaps, he's likely going to get some real playing time on defense this season. So hopefully he's ready for it. And the good news is, from the sounds of it, Robinson has been getting better and better as training camp has gone on, and he's gotten more adjusted to playing at the NFL level. I mean, he even got a sack on Monday and flashed during some of the drills. So again, I'm certainly excited about him, and hopefully he can make an impact this season now that we know he's definitely going to have a role. Moving on though, the Birds also did have practice on Tuesday, and it was a rather exciting day, as with the Birds' first preseason game against the Bengals being right around the corner on Thursday, this was the team's third and final practice in the lead up to it, and while apparently it was a bit more relaxed than the previous 2 practices this week, it was still very eventful, as the offense did a lot of team drills down in the red zone, and for the most part, they capitalized, as Jalen Hurts wound up throwing a whopping 5 touchdowns on the day, several of which were very impressive. I mean, for example, Hurts had one of his better throws in all of training camp, where he hit Saquon Barkley over the middle of the field for the touchdown, and he fed the ball into an extremely tight window to get the score. And then on another occasion, Hurts had pressure in his face and had to fade off of his back foot for the throw, yet he still managed to complete a very impressive pass to Dallas Goedert in the middle back of the end zone from about 15 yards out. And there were defenders in the area, but Hurts just put it up high where only Goedert could get it. So again, another great throw from Hurts there. Moving on, he also had another impressive touchdown throw to Devontae Smith towards the end of practice, as he recognized a mismatch where Josh Uche got stuck guarding Smitty, and he made a nice throw down the right sideline to him for a touchdown from about 25 yards out. And moving on, Hurts also had another tight window touchdown throw, this one to Jahan Dotson, as he hit the wide receiver 3 in the back of the end zone with pressure in his face, all while Dotson was in a crowd. Yet, Hurts still managed to make the impressive throw. And this one in particular is exciting to me because I think it just goes to show you how much Hurts' connection with Dotson has grown over the offseason, and I really do have a feeling that we're going to get to see that connection on display a lot more this season.
You know, I got fired up today. Jahan had a big time catch versus cover 0. But it's just, you know, you build those things based off of time and reps and the efforts put in. And so you see Dallas out there and that connection that we've had. I mean, that's been a special connection all camp. Smitty, AJ when he's out there, Jahan showing, and now that we're able to build. And so just keep showing up and keep making plays and keep taking advantage of it. But you know, obviously I have a lot of confidence in Jahan. I had a lot of confidence in him as the year went on last year, and for him to make the big time plays he made towards the end of the year, that was all strictly based off of confidence.
As I've said all offseason, I'm just super excited to see what Jahan Dotson is able to do this year, because I truly do think he's going to be a significantly bigger part of the passing game than he was last year. Now, yes, he's not ever going to get a ton of targets just because of all the other weapons that the Eagles have around them, and there's only so many touches to go around, but I do think Dotson could maybe double his stats from last year, say, those being 19 catches for 216 yards. So, you know, we'll see how that goes, but for now, glad to see that his connection with Jalen Hurts has been strong in camp, and also glad to see Hurts and the offense in general be so successful in this red zone period. That said, it didn't come without its bad moments and wins for the defense either. I mean, for example, there was one moment where Kelee Ringo had great coverage on Saquon Barkley and dropped what should have been an interception for him. And also at one point, the defense actually did come away with an interception as Jeremiah Trotter Jr. brought pressure on Jalen Hurts with a blitz, and Dallas Goedert stumbled in the end zone, which then led to DeJean coming away with an interception. So, to be fair, it doesn't seem like Hurts just made an awful play on that throw, so you can't really criticize him too much. And also, on the other side of that, it is just good to hear that DeJean got an interception. I mean, he seems to be having a good camp so far, so definitely good to hear that. But again, still, overall, despite the flaws, it was a solid day for Jalen Hurts, as he went 12 for 20 on his throws with 5 touchdowns and 1 interception. So, definitely good to see that. And it was also good to see backup wide receiver Terrace Marshall Jr. back out there at practice, even if it was in a limited capacity after he had missed a bunch of time. And on that injury front, we also saw Andrew Makuba do some team drills after being out of those for a while, and he even had a pass breakup while with the second team defense. So that was definitely good to hear. Now, on the other side of that, A.J. Brown and Zach Bond, among others, were still out of practice with injuries, but based on what we've heard from reporters, that is no reason to worry. And moving on, we also got some other things that happened at practice on Tuesday, including wide receiver Elijah Cooks continuing to impress by catching 2 touchdowns, one of which where he shook a defender and ran it in from 15 yards out. And on top of that, Moro Ojomo continued his super impressive showing at training camp, getting yet another sack on Jalen Hurts, and also getting a pressure where he split between Landon Dickerson and Cam Jurgens. So you definitely love to see that. And another guy who has had a super impressive training camp so far is Quinyon Mitchell. And he was given some extremely high praise by both Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith after practice on Tuesday.
I think for Quinyon, he's just growing in confidence. I don't know if y'all asked me or I brought it up, but it was something that I said the last time I sat here, just his confidence. And I even took the time to ask him. I said, man, what do you feel like the difference is for you in year 2? He said confidence. And so just want to see that continue to develop and see that continue to grow. He's been very sticky in coverage. He's been challenging all of those guys on the offensive side from a one-on-one standpoint. And so it's been good, it's been competitive, and we've all been getting better for it.
Yeah, he's definitely amongst those guys. I would say just his overall understanding, reading the splits, knowing what guys are going to do. When there are certain coverages and things like that, knowing how to, bait the quarterback and things like that. I think he's taken a big leap in, his overall understanding of the game.
Personally, I'm just super excited to see what Quinyon Mitchell is about to do this year, because as much as he was unbelievably good last year, I truly do think he has the ability to get even better, and all signs are pointing to that happening in his sophomore season. So again, I'm definitely excited about him. And I'm also super excited to see how the Eagles' first preseason game goes, that of course being against the Bengals on Thursday. And of course, I'm going to be covering all that here on this channel, so if you don't want to miss that or any other training camp coverage, then make sure you guys subscribe and you turn on notifications. And also drop a like down below to show some support, because it really does help me out a ton. See if we can get to at least 500 likes today. And also leave a comment down below just regarding anything that I talked about in this video. What are your thoughts on the Jakorian Bennett trade? Again, just let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And also, if you want to watch another video going over a bunch of standouts from training camp among other news, you can check this out right here. Now, with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.